Devin, welcome to the panel.
What's up?
This
What's up?
nigga.
Chilling, chilling. What's the word, big
Yeah,
dog?
yeah. Nah, pretty much like I really don't understand Molly's and Q and Quentin's like stance on this. It makes no sense because at the end of the day, the number one thing that separated the family was literally the government within the family structure and giving more money to women for this whole situation just incentivizes them to not need the actual family structure. Like you're incentivizing to separate the family because they get the money supported by the government and not keep the family together. So it's like you're doing one thing where it's like, all right, maybe they might have kids if they realize they're gonna get some more support, but at the same time you're not fixing the underlying problem, which is having the father in the home. So I think that's kind of like where I stand in this whole situation. It's like you're talking about this like, oh well, accountability, but you're having the stance, and then you have Slimmy and Mika bringing up these other viewpoints, and you're just not even like thinking about the nuance of everything that comes in together to actually solve for the problem. You're stuck in your feelings on one path and not being able to bring other sources of information to change your opinion.
Okay, so if it's the government's fault, why are y'all still fathering children?
What is it? I don't get your point.
If y'all know that the woman is incentivized
Ollie, I got you up next.
to keep the household separate and to keep the man out of the household, why are y'all still fathering children? If y'all know it's the government's fault, if y'all know that women are getting incentive, if y'all can make all these excuses, why do y'all still father children?
I mean, but that's again, you're missing the whole point of the topic, which was talking about the child support,
I
which
mean, it's
is
easy to
literally.
blame the government, but there are men not getting themselves in these situations to begin with. So when do y'all just stop fathering children if it
But the thing
works
is,
against
men have
y'all to
always
be
been held
fathers?
accountable. In this situation, women in Texas are finally being held, like feet are being held to the fire. Where okay, you can't abort that child in Texas per se. You can still go to another state and do it possibly, but finally in Texas, they're finally doing it. So it's like they're finally getting somewhat accountability, but then you're kind of just like chopping the legs out of under it from like, but not actually doing anything to keep the family together. Like I think that's the biggest part of the whole thing. Is like, yeah, you want more kids, but more kids need fathers also. Like you're looking at
Okay,
it
so
from
what's
one
stopping
side. That
y'all from being fathers though?
What?
the women being incentivized to just take the money and not need the father in the home.
So don't get them women pregnant. Why do y'all
I
not
mean,
get to know the women y'all get pregnant?
okay, but understood that we're still being held accountable. We're talking about you're still saying it's clear as day that we're still being held accountable. The fact is, the accountability is not being held evenly on both sides of the aisle.
Why don't
What it
y'all just get
is?
50-50 custody then? And then y'all
It's
won't have
not
to pay
that.
child
First of all, it's
support.
not that easy. It's not always that easy.
It's
I've
easy to
actually
make excuses though.
I've actually dealt with the legal system. I've actually had grown men cry in front of me, having to go through different allegations of lies that the female told on them. Eventually, they've literally had to spend $50,000 going into debt trying to fight for their child. So, like,
I can
it's not
understand a divorced man going through it, but like a baby daddy, y'all just like making excuses. I'm not saying you're a baby daddy. I'm just speaking
okay. All right,
generally.
all right. No, this is the thing. This is the thing. This is what you're missing.
Because
Guys aren't
women
making
pay child
excuses. We
support
understand.
too.
No, pause. Guys understand that there's an issue with you just putting your opinions wherever you want to put it. That is an understood statement. We don't need to keep repeating the understood statement. What we're saying is we're keeping incentivizing the women to do whatever they want to do.
Okay, well, we're in a patriarchy, so who's incentivizing women to do what they want to do?
How are we under a patriarchy?
We're still under a patriarchy. We have a
How?
male president, and we always have. We're still under a patriarchy. Who's incentivizing women to keep their families apart?
This is the thing. This is what I
Yep.
was saying. This is what I was saying. The government is being incentivized to put these laws in place that affect men more. They're getting money from men. putting these type of laws in place. That's what he's saying. Women aren't being held accountable, but men are. You're able to do what you want to do. They
Again,
already they already
I
letting
don't
you
see. Go ahead, Slimmy.
they already letting women have they can have an abortion without the man's consent. So you have the right to abort. You got the right. That's your right. If you got an inkling that this man ain't good enough, that you don't like this man, you got the right to abort without his consent. It does not matter.
Okay, so how
Therefore,
is that
wait.
a
So
loss for
therefore,
y'all?
well, hold on. So therefore, you can't keep using the excuse of why are men fathering these kids when women could literally could abort mission. Now, moving forward, we to this point in Texas where they was like, all right, you can't get an abortion, in this state. You got to go somewhere else and get it. Which was okay, cool. You can't allow that. But then what he's saying is, then they go a step further and just negate that whole process by putting these child support laws in place that go retroactive and from the point of conception, which is even more money.
Marry
And
before you carry.
there goes all the accountability on the woman again.
but I think that what's missing
Sorry.
here is that
The
it's.
whole. Go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Anton.
Carrie. Go ahead, Carrie.
I just reread because I was like, why? What is Texas's premise for having this new law? And it says the primary aim is to promote fairness and shared responsibility
I got you,
between
Quinn.
both
Got it.
parents from the earliest stages of a child's life, recognizing that the financial needs associated with raising a child begin during pregnancy. The law seeks to ensure that non custodial parents contribute to prenatal and postnatal expenses. So I misunderstood this. I thought this was aimed at like if you've been going years without paying, this is a
No,
way.
this is
This
to
is
retro it back to
specific
the
to.
time that the child was conceived.
Oh, then I agree with it even more. You know how much you got to pay. It's a lot that goes into being pregnant. Listen, okay.
Exactly.
Now I wonder what the percentage is. I wonder what
It
they're
would,
going to
it would probably
consider it.
look like the same. You put that shit in a calculator like they do
I
everything else.
think
I'm
that.
sure.
Well, I think that they need to be fair with with how they, because
They're
I
not
think
going
they
to
need to
be
be fair.
fair.
But it costs. It does.
They're not
There's a
going to
lot
be
that go.
fair.
Well, we
But
don't.
think about this. You gotta even think about this in
Hey,
Texas. It doesn't even help
they're
that.
not going to be fair.
But isn't there a cap? If I hope I don't think I'm wrong, but there's a cap in Texas of how much child support you can even pay. And then
Correct.
back to the talking point that Anton always says, it's usually the same men over and over who are the repeat offenders of having multiple children out of wedlock.
Well, I mean, but think about it. If that's the case, though, right? Because I mean, Molly isn't wrong. Slimmy isn't wrong. I don't think that anybody is wrong. I think we're looking at it too broadly, right? So, like, I'll give you an example, Devin. I say that, yep, it's a a minority of the men. I'm not gonna say a small minority, but there's a minority of men that are getting a lot of the different women pregnant. Well, if those are the guys that are largely the ones that's doing all of this nonsense, then to go after them and force them to be financially accountable for the things that's being, for getting all of the women pregnant doesn't affect me. That's not getting a whole lot of women pregnant. So I'm not complaining about it, and they should be held accountable for all of the women that they are impregnating, right? And so if I know this, because two things can be true at the same time. Yes, I do believe that we need to go through and up in family court because a lot of times it's so many different examples and nuances in there. I think that a lot of times women use child support for the care of themselves instead of for the children, right? That's something. I think that we need to change the laws so where we have paternity at birth, but people advocate against it. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of guys that wind up paying child support for children that's not theirs. And we can go through and look at 1,000 different examples. However, while we advocate for that, at the same time, why would we continue to impregnate women that we know is not for us, or that you're not going to be with for a long time, or is going to be problematic, but we still go raw? I can't tell you how many guys debate with me and say raw is law, Nigga, fuck a condom. I ain't never using a condom and all of that. So, you know what I'm saying? It's accountability to be given on all sides. And I think that the conversation is a lot more nuanced than we like to give it credit for.
And can I just add to that? Because this to me is also kind of where I think the confusion comes with the messaging that men give to women on one hand versus the other, because we have all these conversations about women need to learn how to follow more, women need to submit to men. You hear men say that a real man takes, like, if I have a company, or if something fails, basically I have to own that. I take ownership of it. I have to correct it. I have to fix it. Like, you guys want us to position you in every other aspect as the leader, the one who takes control, the one who should have more common sense, this, that, and the third. And in this particular topic, I don't get why it's only on the woman to be deciding, like, what she does with her body, so therefore he's not accountable. I don't get how
Because
we
he don't
pivot
own you.
so.
That wasn't
But
what
Hold
was
on,
stated.
wait. No, I'm
but
just
that's
replying to
how.
you. He don't
But
own
Devin,
you.
I gotta let you go. I gotta bring somebody
He
else
don't
out.
own you before he's married
Thanks.
to you.
Bro.